Mhm.
What kind of defense did James Harden ever play?
He didn't have to play because he played on a team that didn't demand that he had to defend the best guy.
No, he played on a
Melo
team.
didn't accept what he had to do. And it's like James didn't avoid his role. Carmelo did. And if you do that, you backed away from being one of the greatest to me because you ducked out of your role, which was to step up on the defensive end with your size and athleticism, which he never did.
No, James just ducked out of the weight room.
Squad up. Opening day is finally here. It feels like we just got done with the season, but then a part of it feels like it was a long time coming. As you already may notice, we are a bit short right now. Grandpa Jay will be here real soon. He's just finishing up a couple things, doing a little bit of recruiting for his Kentucky Wildcats and a couple other things going on. John's going to be out this week. John has a lot going on trying to, help figure out the situation with the Yankees bullpen. So he'll be back with us next week.
Yes.
But as I said, opening day is here, Mike. Aside from your Yankees, because I know you would pick the Yankees if I naturally asked you this question, what opening day matchup are you most excited for?
So, yeah, you're right. I would 100% pick the Yankee series if you gave me the option. But seeing as that you didn't, as a smart host that you are, I'm actually looking forward to seeing this opening series between the Guardians, your Guardians, and the Kansas City Royals, because I think while it is a long season, we get a little bit of a preview of what I believe is going to be the race for the AL Central this year. I think those are the two teams that are going to be near the top of the Central. And so while it may be the opening series, head-to-head matchups might come down to who wins this division this year, honestly.
Got you. So who are you looking at? Bobby Witt? Who are you expecting outside of Witt, I guess I say? Of course, him.
Yeah, so Kansas City, I said last year, they had a very quietly good offseason. I liked them picking up Seth Lugo. I like the trade they sent young Brady Singer, who's kind of been not what exactly they expected, but he hasn't been a bad pitcher for them. But they sent him to Cincinnati. They got Jonathan India to bolster their infield. He's a solid talent who's only getting better. But I think Cincinnati had a kind of influx of young infielders and outfielders that kind of took his spot away and made him expendable. So both teams kind of won that deal. So I'm looking forward to seeing like I said, the elevation of Bobby Witt, because he's a franchise player, superstar in the making. He's only going to get better. He's so young. And just kind of what the underrated Kansas City team can do versus a Cleveland team that always seems to be able to find a way to have good pitching. They always seem to be able to churn out. It's like them and the Rays always churn out great pitchers. They might not keep them as long as they want to, but yeah, it might send them to the Yankees and the Astros and Dodgers and Mets and all them. But, I think that Cleveland always seems to win. But the thing is, like, you get rid of these guys, right? And then you just seem to replace them with new prospects that nobody's ever heard of, but they all pitch really well and they all work as a staff. And then Jose Ramirez, of course, it kind of bolsters that lineup. And I'll be interested to see, honestly, with Cleveland, how much the Josh Naylor trade affects them. If it, are they going to miss a beat? Are they going to miss him? I don't think they will. I'm not really high on him, but we'll see what happens.
They a lot of it because that power bat they're expecting is Noel, who was the one who hit the big home run against the Yankees, and yes. That I forgot it was a game 4, game 5, whatever game it was. That's what they're banking a lot on. I think this year, as far as being the extra power bat, which I think is what made Naylor a bit more expendable. The other thing too with them, which I love because he was one of my favorite guys when he was there, is Carlos Santana actually is back. And he was always a fan favorite, so it's cool to watch him. He left, he did what he did. Now he comes back. I mean, he didn't leave with hard blood or anything like that. I mean, it was the money is what it is. I would have left too. So that's going to be interesting watching with them. Big topic of discussion I've been seeing a lot of people talk about. And I know, he's a young guy, but it's never too young to necessarily talk about who's the best pitcher in baseball. So is Paul Skenes, is he the best pitcher in baseball right now at this very young, ripe age?
Yeah, so 22 years old, to be specific, is how old this man is. And I feel like I can, being that I'm about to turn 30, I can accurately call him a kid. Like, this kid is 22 years old. He's 8 years younger than me. It was funny when I was doing research on it and really thinking about it and looking at, stats and highlights and other guys that might be, I really found myself trying everything to not have him be the best pitcher in baseball at 22, because like he hasn't even pitched a full season in the major leagues. Like, how could he possibly be the best pitcher in baseball? We got all these guys. No, he is like 100%. This dude is the best pitcher in baseball. He has the best stuff. A full season is going to be electric. One stat I found that to illustrate from last season. So he had 23 starts last year, right?
Yeah.
He had 170 strikeouts in 23 starts. I broke down the math a little bit. That means he struck out average about 11 to 12 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, which is insane. Like, he's averaging double digits. It's nuts. I watched highlights. I'm like, okay, let me remind myself how good this guy is. And I'm like, damn, his stuff is just like, he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs like they're nothing. He looks like he's a slow pitch softball pitcher. Like, it doesn't look like he's throwing hard at all. And he's hitting 95 to 100 and it's moving. I can't possibly see, barring, on anything unfortunate, he is got to be the odds-on favorite for the NL Cy Young. And I don't know who can overtake him. I really don't. I don't have a name that I'm like, oh no, yeah, he's definitely better than Skenes.
I mean, for me, again, similar to you, I was like, all right, I don't want to be prisoner of the moment. Right. Let me look at the list. I started looking at the list of who, like, the Cy Young odds-on favorites and things. And I'm looking, I say, well, I don't see who is. I mean, like you said, it's only 23 starts, but when you got a whip of 0.95, like, what are we doing here? An ERA under 2, and you got to figure at this point he's young, so naturally he's not had any real injuries. And now he's got his feet wet. So this year it's not the uncertainty. It's not, can I make it in the pros? He's going to come out with a different type of confidence this year, because now he's like, no, my stuff is good enough to be in the pros. I think anybody that comes in the pros, if you're a hitter, am I going to be able to hit these pro-level pitchers? When you're a pitcher, is my stuff good enough to get past some of these top guys? You do it. Now your confidence says, I'm not worried about anybody. And that's what's scary, because now he's going to come with a different level of confidence. And not saying he wasn't a confident guy, but a different level of confidence than he had last year. So that's going to be, I don't know, crazy. So for me, I would say at 22 that Paul is the best pitcher in baseball. Yeah. I mean, like I said, hey, if somebody else feels they got somebody better, please present the case. Maybe it'll sway my mind. But right now, I can't see it when I look at that. Speaking of greatness, you've got Babe Ruth. There was something you were telling me, and it was a fact, and it was a few other moving parts, and it somehow had involved Babe Ruth at some point too.
Yep. So, I want to take you back to 1917. It's a long time ago, when only Jamie was alive, when only Grandpa Jay was alive. But, he saw this, though. So back in 1917, there was a pitcher. He was named Ernie Short, and he actually tossed a perfect game, not allowing a single runner, and he got the 27 straight outs necessary for a perfect game. The thing is, the record books for the MLB list the game as a combined no-hitter, because Short actually came in relief of starting pitcher Babe Ruth. Now, you may be asking, why is it that he had to come in for Babe Ruth and still get all 27 outs in the game? It's because Ruth had been thrown out of the game after walking the first hitter, and turns out only hitter, he faced, and punching the umpire.
Wow. I can't even imagine a Sports Center if we were just watching and suddenly you just saw some star pitcher just go up and punch the umpire.
I know, right?
And the thing is, Babe probably didn't get suspended for a game. They probably just kicked him out for the game. The next day, show back up to the park and act like nothing happened.
He probably threw the next game.
Yeah, probably threw the next game, right? Because he didn't throw that game, so he's a fresh arm at that point. Plus, they threw more back then anyways. Yeah. Speaking of Babe Ruth, you kind of brought this up earlier. Mm-hmm. Prediction time. MVP of the AL. For me, you already mentioned this guy. I'm picking Jose Ramirez. I just think it's Jose's time. Jose keeps being in the race. He just keeps looking like he has a shot at it, and I think this is the time. I mean, he's more on the radar than ever, and part of being an MVP in any league is being on the radar, where people are looking, they're saying, okay, that's the guy. I think the Guardians are going to be a good team this year. So you got a good team. You got a very recognizable face, a person that people like, seems to be a likable guy. I just think it's Jose's time. So I think he's going to take AL MVP. Who you got in the AL for your MVP this year?
I mean, normal pick until he proves otherwise, he is my Kansas City Chiefs. It's Aaron Judge. I think Judge does have it in him to win another MVP. Now, if you ask me who other than Judge, if you put that stipulation like you did with
who's
the matchup, other than Judge, who do I think can win? I already mentioned him. Keep an eye on Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, I want to say he came in second in last year's voting. He was this close because he had a phenomenal year. And like I said, I think he's only going to get better. So if Aaron Judge doesn't win, mark me down for Bobby Witt Jr. capturing his first MVP of what could be many.
Okay, so we're looking at Witt. NL, I guess if you say that's your Mahomes in the NL, naturally, I expect Shohei Ohtani to get the MVP. The Dodgers are going to be good. He's going to keep doing what he does. As long as he stays healthy, I'll put this on wax right now. As long as he stays healthy, I'm basically picking the MVP every year until he starts to get old. Right now, at this age, there's a shot, and I know this may sound crazy, that he can win 3 or 4 in a row. Like, I can realistically see that happen. When you have a guy that pitches and hits, and he's that good at both, it's always going to be an advantage. I mean, because if you're go out there and you say, okay, this guy's a top 5 hitter, and even if you go out there and just say, okay, he's not a top 5 pitcher, he's top 10. Well, nobody else got that chance because just of the nature of the game, because he's the only one basically playing both sides of the ball. You know, it's kind of like in the NFL, if Travis Hunter jumps up and they decide they're going to play him a corner receiver, you know, they always say it's a quarterback award. At some point, you got to give him the award because he's playing both sides of the ball.
Right.
So that's why I think with Ohtani, again, similar to my whole thing, we keep picking him until further proven that this ain't going to be the deal. NL, who you got?
Yeah. So, the conventional pick is Shohei Ohtani, and he absolutely can win it. But I feel like, and I don't know if it'll be this year, right? Because they could give him back-to-back NL MVPs, and he's also won the AL MVP. I'm going to put what we've put on Jokic before on this, which is that at some point, they're just not going to give it to him because they're tired of giving it to him.
I can see that.
So taking into account, let's suppose that that's this year, that they decide that this year is the gap year.
What we want.
The gap year they give him because they expect to give it to him for X amount of years in the future. I feel like I'm kind of opting out of the normal picks, which is just put Judge and Ohtani. So I'm going to go out on a limb again with the NL MVP, Paul Skenes.
Okay.
It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, at some point, if they win a good amount of games and he wins a good amount of games and has a good season, he is the most valuable player of the Pirates.
Well, he'd be the most valuable player of the team, and they can't win a lot of games unless he wins a lot of games. So
right, exactly.
These things are hand to hand. It's not one without the other.
Right.
Okay, so we just talked about a little bit of MVPs. I'm going to read you a list. This list, this is your postseason for last year. Which team do you most likely see falling out of the playoffs this year? We got Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Guardians, Phillies, Padres, Royals, Tigers, Brewers, Braves, Astros, Orioles. Who's falling out? Never come back with the same playoff teams. It always has to be somebody.
Has to be somebody that falls out. I want to say Brewers, but the thing is like the Central is not good. So that's tough. I'm going to say the Padres. Yeah, I'm going to say the Padres because I think their division's going to be good enough. I mean, obviously the Dodgers. I'm outright not picking the Dodgers to fall out. There's barring something catastrophic, the Dodgers are making the playoffs. I've said before, you've asked me before, and I've said it, that I have confidence in the New York Yankees to be able to make the playoffs. The Padres, I think that obviously the Dodgers somehow got better, which is insane. And I think the Giants got better. I think the Diamondbacks aren't going to be as bad as they were. And then the Rockies are the Rockies. They're going to be better.
The Rockies are, yeah.
But the East, the NL East got better. Like the Mets got better, and I think the Phillies got better, and I think the Braves are going to be better just by health purposes. And so I think you can get all three of them in, and therefore the Padres lose enough games to an improved Diamondbacks and improved Giants as well as the Dodgers that they fall just short of the playoffs.
Gotcha. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. My next question for you was going to be your bold prediction, but I'm basically going to lump mine into who's not going to make the playoffs. It's also my bold prediction here.
Okay.
Not going to want to hear this?
Don't do it.
Nope.
Don't do it. You don't have to. You're not required.
I don't have to, but my gut says the Yankees will not make the playoffs this year. Yeah, my gut, it's already start. It's sometimes you have the year from hell, and I'm not trying to predict this on them, but I have this feeling the way that World Series went, and then you go out there and you're like, we're going to get our guy back in free agency. And he says, no, I'm going over to Queens. So then you lose that factor. Then you go out there and lose the eights. Like everything since October just seems to keep trending wrong. And I just got a gut feeling that they're going to take a step back, because I also feel like the Orioles, I think this is their time to win the AL East crown. So I think that your Yankees are my bold prediction / who won't make it this year. Is unfortunately, I think your Yankees is going to be the one.
But we can make the wild card.
I just got a feeling it's going to be
Who's going to make the wild card over us?
My gut just says year from hell seems to be where the team seems to be trending. Every time you have this, when you look at like football, you had this year, the year from hell was the 49ers. Everybody just kept getting hurt. You're like, oh, your Trent Williams hurt. Oh, Debo's hurt for a second. Now Purdy's hurt. Like and everything just kept going wrong. Like,
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to, but somebody has to be a team. Like I never like to wish injury on anybody, but I just feel like that seems to be where this team is trending. You got any bold predictions for this year?
Oh, I feel like Skenes winning MVP would be pretty bold in the sense of he isn't. But yeah, I got a bold prediction. The Mets finish third in the East.
So Phillies and what? Braves?
Phillies and Braves.
Okay.
The Mets spend all that money and finish third.
I mean, that's not unrealistic, honestly. You got these other two teams who have been consistently good in recent time. I mean, it's not. It could happen. I mean, I know a lot of people ain't going to pick that. The odds, I think, right now, the Mets higher, but something with those teams being the way they are, it doesn't take that much. A couple weeks, couple injuries, and maybe somebody makes a deadline trade, and boom, next thing you know, they're in third. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put that. And then the Mets are the Mets. That's also something we have to factor in. The Mets, like the Clippers, they just, they figure out ways to
the Mets
reinvent the wheel. Yeah, the Mets will Met. They figure out ways to reinvent the wheel. As far as and this is what everybody really wants to know, because we need to make some money here.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your World Series prediction? What two teams do you have playing? How many games is the World Series going, and who's winning the World Series?
Well, in an effort to not be overconfident about the Yankees, I'm not going to say them because, yes, the injuries. I think the injuries will not keep them from making the playoffs, but it may keep them from winning the World Series. I mean, I've said before, I don't think anybody has the firepower right now to stop the Dodgers, so I think the Dodgers are going out of the NL. And I will say the Dodgers will play the Orioles in the World Series.
The Dodgers will play the Orioles. Interesting prediction.
Yeah.
Because you know what my prediction was?
The Dodgers play the
Orioles.
Yeah. I mean, they're two very good teams.
Yeah, that was also my prediction because the Orioles, they got a little more experience now. So that makes me feel a lot better about them having this extra experience. The Dodgers you bring it right back, you add a couple extra pieces, why not? I don't see how you can pick against the Dodgers. I mean, hey, people got their certain biases, but at this point, what in conventional wisdom would have you pick against them? I already said I thought the Yankees were going to take a step back, and I think that's partly because the Orioles are going to take that step up. I could easily see the Orioles go out there and win, 95 games, and next thing you know, you're sitting there with momentum going in. I can also see them possibly put the chips in their deadline, try to go get an extra piece. Like, I think it's that time. Because I don't think this version of the Orioles, as good as I expect them to be, is going to be the final version. I think there's another piece coming.
Yeah, I was going to say what they need to do to cement that, which is what I think they will do. They need to, by the deadline, go get a starting pitch, like an ace starting pitcher, because that's the one thing that they really don't have right now, because Corbin Burns, who they got last year to be that after some injuries to their pitching staff, he signed with the Diamondbacks. So they didn't end up bringing him back like it was expected they would. So now they will probably need to go get someone like that again.
No, it makes sense. I mean, and I think you get to the deadline, somebody's starting to kind of sell off the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, all right, I'll put my chips in, sell a couple prospects. And that happens every year. So I could easily see them be the team to do it. I mean, the Dodgers, I think the team we see is basically going to be the team, maybe a tweak here and there. But the Orioles, like I said, I like where they're at, and I think one tweak's coming. So I would lean to saying that I think the Orioles are going to be the team out of AL. We both said Dodgers. So I also said, no offense to the Orioles, I just think there's going to be too much firepower when we get there. So I'm saying Dodgers in 5 is my prediction over the Orioles.
Dodgers 5? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
I just think there's too much firepower when they get there.
I mean, okay, unless they're not healthy, I'll say the Dodgers sweep them because I can't believe the amount of talent they have.
Well, because every night you throw a pitcher out there, and there's nobody, like you said, right now, if we throw pitching masters out there, there's no match what the Orioles have against any of the 5 Dodgers stars that we would confidently say that guy's going to outduel him. And now these guys have been to playoffs and done it too. So now they really have something behind them. So if the thing about it is, even if somebody gets hurt, they still actually have other guys who can start. It's the crazy part right now. Because I think Ohtani technically is like arm 7 if they want to do it that way and say let's skip some nights.
I don't think he's gonna make a whole lot of starts this year.
You don't even need him to start. But if you got to the playoffs and somebody was hurt, you now have this option.
Yeah, exactly.
Option sitting there that may be fresh because he hasn't pitched most of the season.
Right. What I had said they should do with Ohtani coming out of the Tommy John surgery is make him the closer.
I mean, that's not the worst thing.
Why not? Or at least sometimes closer.
Or sometimes closer or a setup man, not putting too much on him.
Right.
Go out there, maybe get in or something like that. So I could definitely see that. We have a lot of jersey talk here all the time. And it's been a big thing. I've been reading a lot of online where people have been talking about the different City Connect jerseys. And, some people love them, some people don't. Baseball in particular is interesting because baseball is such a traditionalist type sport that you have some fans who are like, oh, that's a fire jersey. Then you have some fans who are like, no, just give me my traditional pinstripes. I want my Yankees guy with no beard. So they want their traditionalism. By the way, never asked you as a side note, how do you feel about the Yankees and, the beards now?
Oh, yeah. I think it was time because I get it. You want, them to be all clean and all that. But, I agreed with what Aaron Boone said, which is rare nowadays. I don't normally agree with what he says. But I agreed with what he said, which is if it causes us to lose one guy, that's one too many. At this point, the new generation of players, they want to have at least longer hair. Obviously, you still have to keep it trimmed because that's the kind of compromise that was made in changing the rule. But you can have well-trimmed beards and things like that because they want to have their beards. They want to be able to express themselves with facial hair. And it's crazy that Devin Williams is really what changed that. They got Devin Williams from Milwaukee, and he was like, yeah, I don't like it. He was very public about, I shaved it because I got traded to the Yankees and I want to win a World Series, and, that's what they do here, but I'm not a fan of having to do it. And so that really kind of sparked the team. And then the rest, they consulted the players past and present, and they're apparently a vast majority of them were like, yeah, change it. I don't have the mountain man beards and things like that because we're the Yankees. We have a certain image, obviously, but you can have it. So I'm cool with it because the times were what they were when the rule was made in the 70s. Now, it's time to change. New generation of Yankees.
I've always hated that rule.
No, I know.
As a person, and be honest with you, as a person that ever liked the Yankees, that just even on top of every other thing, and not like the Yankees made me dislike them even more because I was like, who the hell are you to tell me I can't have face hair, I can't have a beard? That was a ridiculous rule. Unless honestly, if I was a player and I'm sitting there all money's even and I got 2 even teams and one tells me I have to shave my face hair and the other doesn't, I'm going to the team that can keep my face hair. Maybe I would have shaved it because, I want to win and the Yankees are a better opportunity. But don't let shit be even. And I have no opinion or no bias. I'm not a Yankees fan. If I'm sitting there and I was a free agent, the Red Sox offered me $80 million, and the Yankees offered me $80 million, and the rosters were comparable, I'm going to the Red Sox. And now, back to the Aaron Boone point, now you lost the guy simply because you have this stupid-ass rule that didn't need to be in there. So it was about time. Finally, I never could believe they still were rolling that all the way into 2000, which was ridiculous. Back to the original point, though. City Connect jerseys. We were talking about traditional pinstripes, all these sort of things. Volley City connects. I think we've been doing it since 2021, I believe. What's your favorite one that you've seen?
So honestly, and I tweeted this out that this team always seems to put out good City Connect jerseys. And honestly, my favorite has been the gray cherry blossom Washington Nationals City Connect jerseys. Those were just classic because they're clean. You know, they didn't do too much with them, but at the same time, it's an iconic thing for Washington, D.C. is that row of cherry blossoms that you see there. So I thought it was a good way to incorporate a staple of the city while not like going overboard. There are certain teams that went like overboard with like their color schemes and things like that. I think they did a good job.
Well, yeah, this makes sense, actually. I see what you mean. I think that makes sense with the whole DC and the theme and everything. For me, I liked the Blue Jays 2024, last year's Blue Jays jersey. I liked.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I always like when a team has similar jerseys to what they normally would wear. Mm-hmm. Or as far as like the color scheme, I mean, like I have a pet peeve in the NBA where like I remember one time I'm watching the Bulls were playing the Celtics and it was St. Patrick's Day and they put the Bulls in green jerseys because it was St. Patrick's Day. And I was fucking confused of, okay, they're wearing green, this doesn't make sense. But that Blue Jays jersey, it has the CN Tower, which is like the most iconic thing in Toronto, the picture of that. Then it also has it's just not too busy, which I also like. Then they put the maple leaf into the T on the hats, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, so for me, I really like that look for them. And you know, I like I said, I like the fact they integrated the CN Tower. I like the fact that they put the maple leaf there. I like the fact they still integrated some of their original colors. So it's kind of a clean fit because you can still wear even some of your other Blue Jays gear with it. You can kind of mismatch. You don't have to wear all City Connect stuff. It's not like they went with like a lime green and you're like, okay, this matches with everything else in my closet. So for me, that was the cleanest City Connect. And you know, shout out to Canada. I know some people want to shout out to Canada, but shout out to Canada. Speaking of that, we have a renowned world traveler and a gambling expert that has finally arrived.
Kentucky Blue all the way today, boys. You know who we had to represent. What's going on?
There he is. You're right on time. Jay, how the hell is your bracket doing?
What's up? Actually, I'm taking a look at it now. My South side is absolutely effed because I had Yale beating Auburn, and it's Auburn, Yale, Iowa State, and Michigan State that I had in this round of 16. My West is almost perfect because I had Florida, Maryland, Drake, and Arkansas. So Drake let me down there, but Texas Tech is playing great. I got Duke, Arizona, BYU, Bama on the other side in the East, so that's perfect. And I got Houston, Purdue, Kentucky, and Tennessee in the Midwest. So I'm perfect on the right side, and I'm pretty effed on the left side of the bracket.
So it kind of mid. This is one of the worst brackets I think I've ever filled out in my life.
Oh, shit. You went with a lot of Cinderellas?
No, I wouldn't say a lot of deep Cinderella, but it was some upsets. You know, I did have a couple, 11s winning. I think the big one that fucked me was I actually had Kansas all the way to the Final Four as my surprise. And yeah, that's what fucked me because I was like, okay, this team has a lot of older players. They've been here. Sometimes you need that, and that just fucked everything.
It was a weird year for Kansas, man. I could have told you I would not have put anything on Kansas this year. I watched them play maybe 4 times, and of the 4 times, they played a good half of basketball. The other 7 halves were terrible.
And clearly, they continued that theme. So they were consistent and being shitty. Mike, what's your bracket looking like?
Oh, God, it's awful. All right, let's see. So, we're at the Sweet 16. Let's see the Sweet 16 teams that Mike did not have, or that Mike had, that are not in the Sweet 16. Well, okay, Yale, Marquette,
How about that
one? Memphis, St. John's. Did We By You make it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Clemson.
Ouch.
Yep. That's where we're at. Wait a minute, did Missouri make it?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Okay, so Missouri. So my entire bottom of the West is gone. So I had Missouri and St. John's, and neither of them are there. So it's been real bad. It's just been real bad.
Yeah, it's just and I think it's the fact that we didn't really have all the Cinderellas. For me, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. Okay, somebody gotta get upset somewhere. So I would say the next big upset is Jay's boy Calipari is going to get it done. Yep, they're going to get at least one more round out of this. Because when I look at it, they've shot like shit. So has Texas Tech. Somebody's eventually got to figure this out. I'm taking the chance that I think, because looking at this, they somehow managed to beat Kansas and St. John's while shooting 25% from three-point range and then 10% from three-point range. It can't keep being that bad. If they figure it out there, if they can just find a way to fucking 30%, then I think they have a shot. Because Texas Tech also hasn't been shooting that great either. And somebody's got to put some magic on. So I think I would say next big upset is Arkansas is going to take out Texas Tech. Mike, what about you? You got any big upsets coming here?
Actually, I do. And it's funny you say that because, I think Arkansas is going to take out Texas Tech. I think Cal just knows how to get it done in the tournament. And this Texas Tech team, I mean, I had them going out, let's see, I had Texas Tech going out to Missouri in the round of 32. I haven't thought highly of Texas Tech this year. And so I think Arkansas is only going to keep getting better. They're only going to keep getting more momentum, and these guys know how to play in the tournament.
Jay, you get on the Calipari bandwagon here?
I can't consider that an upset. You got a Hall of Fame coach. You have a roster that was supposed to be a bunch of Kentucky Wildcats. They squeeze into the tournament, and he's beaten two other coaches that are already in the Hall of Fame. So it's like, well, the guy has done his due bidding already, but I'm with you that they're probably going to get another win. I'm going over to the East. BYU has the firepower to keep up with Bama. Bama has played impressive, but Bama hasn't been decisively impressive, where they are the concise favorite in my mind. I think BYU has gained the confidence they need to get to the Elite Eight at this point. And if they do, look out, because they got Duke, Arizona waiting on the other side, and the confidence they will gain by beating Bama might make them be the Cinderella pick for the Final Four.
Herb and Roger are going to be very upset with you. I'll make sure related.
I know.
Yeah, I will make sure this message gets relayed to Herb and Roger. Shout out to them too, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we kind of were saying, you said that wasn't really a big upset, right? But that's the 10 seeds. That's what we got. This year, we didn't have a bunch of 10s. We didn't have a bunch of 11s. We didn't get that 15 beat to 2. Nope. Jay, do you feel like we lose a bit of the aura of the tourney when we don't have a true Cinderella coming out of that first weekend?
I feel for the common fan who likes to cheer for the underdog, yes. I think if you are already invested in the tournament, it's actually kind of cool to see the teams who are supposed to be there, because now we look forward to possibly 4 very high-quality matchups in the Elite Eight, right? And that's what you want. You want to have 4 great matchups in your regional finals where they're all fighting to win their first tournament, right? East, South, Midwest, whatever bracket they're in. And it sets up this year where we could actually see some extremely high-quality basketball, because we have not seen that so far. There's been very few games. I mean, one buzzer beater and a couple of games that were within a couple of possessions. Other than that, we've really seen a lot of teams just pull away. And we're hoping to have that the transparency of teams having just as much talent on both ends, so it stops this sort of just beating the other opponent up tournament feel that I've kind of felt so far. I do think, though, that having a Cinderella in always makes it really interesting, because you can't help but cheer for that team, even though you might have a dog in the fight. You kind of want to see how far that team could go. And I think we've been spoiled by it, right? It's almost been like 5 or 6 years straight. Yeah. We've had a digit seed in the Elite Eight. So, yeah, it feels a little different this year. But if you like high-quality basketball, stay tuned.
Mike, how are you feeling about any Cinderellas this year?
It is a little weird. It's not what we're used to, but at the same time, I think that the skill level amongst all the teams has been so good that it's hard to pick out a Cinderella. Everybody's good. And I think you got the kind of shocks when you were supposed to in the first round, in the second round, and now is when it's traditionally supposed to be the best teams. So while I did hope that Colorado State would keep kind of sneaking through and finding its way, I think it's cool to see, like Jay said, the best teams really show that they're the best teams. These top seeds show that they're the top seeds. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. It is a little weird, but at the same time, it's been fun. What do you think, Trey?
For me, I can give a damn less about Cinderella. I'm about dominance. I mean, that's whether it's been left NFL to talk about love. I like Rihanna. I'm a Lakers fan. Like I'm about dominance. That's what I'm about. So Cinderella's all cute and stuff, but when we get down to the Elite Eight and the Final Four, I like to see the best teams there. It's all cool until you get there and then you're like, damn, this Final Four sucks because somebody got their ass kicked. Let's go back in time. Florida. Remember when George Mason was this great story and they got to Florida and Florida beat the shit out of them? It was like, damn, this Final Four kind of sucks now because George Mason wasn't really that good. It was fun at first until we got there. Last year, NC State, DJ Burns, big man. Love DJ Burns. It was great. And then they got to Purdue, and Purdue kicked the shit out of them. And it was like, well, I guess I can do something else for this Saturday night because this shit's over really quick. Then we had Sister Jean in Loyola, Chicago. They went up against Michigan. And I hate to say it as Ohio State guy, but Michigan beat the shit out of them because Michigan was a much better team. So what I want when we get to the Final Four is I want to see the best teams out there. It's all cool. It's fun. I like doing upsets in a video game. The upsets are cool for a little bit for the story, but ultimately, I want to see the best people on the court. So for me, that's the way it goes. Speaking of that, for me, and I know we all can talk about it, my dream Final Four is I want all four number ones to show up as Final Four. Yeah, we've only had it happen one time in the history of the NCAA where all teams have made it. I think it was 1998 when every team was all four number ones. We have that shot again. I want that because these were the teams that we thought were the four best teams there. There's nothing like not having the best teams there. And I think if you sit there, you get Auburn, and you get Duke, and you get Houston, you get Florida, those were the teams that most people overwhelmingly all year said were the four best teams. I need to see them match up. So for me, that would be my dream match. Mike, who would be your dream matchup for your Final Four? For your dream
Honestly, I want, we've said we want the story, and I want the story. So on one side, I want it to be Arkansas, Michigan. And on the other side, I want it to be BYU, Kentucky. Because at this point, my bracket's all messed up. And so I need the stories, and I need Arkansas to then go ahead and beat Michigan. And I need Mark Pope to take down his former team. And so I need Arkansas, Kentucky in the national championship game.
Yeah, that would be actually interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. Jay, who is your Final Four? You got to slide it in yourself.
Yeah, I'm with Mike. That BYU Kentucky Final Four sounds a spice. I like that spice if we get to that. So obviously it gives my boys a foot in the door to try and make the national title game for the first time in a while. But on the other side, I want to see Auburn, Florida like you. I really want to see why Florida deserve to be the overall number one when they get a shot at the so-called number one. I want to see that matchup on the other side. Just so my nephews get teased thinking they're going to win a national title, give me Florida and Kentucky in the title game so I can watch them cry themselves to sleep after we steal one from these Florida Gators this year.
That would be fucked up.
That's a little cruel.
Teasing these children. Let these children,
Children, you must wait your turn longer.
Yeah, that's not fun. Fucked up for real.
That roster's stacked for another 2-3 years.
Speaking of fucked up, unfortunately, we lost Juju Watkins. That really hurt. Like, I literally screamed. When she screamed, I literally screamed out. So hopefully, speedy recovery for her. Jay, you are our expert in women's college basketball. Any quick thoughts about not just Juju, but in general, what's going on over there? Give the folks a little bit of update about the women's side of the bracket.
Women's side of the bracket is looking chalk right now. You would expect that. There's not that many upsets in the first weekend. As always, you have a lot of the top seeds going through. But last week, I really forgot to talk about how good these UConn Huskies are. And I also forgot to mention that they went to South Carolina and beat South Carolina by 26 points. So this team is coming into this tournament very much unlike many years under the radar. When can we ever say that UConn is an under the radar team in the women's tournament? So I'm getting more excited about the fact that I thought USC would be the roadblock for them. I'm a little more excited about that possibly not being a roadblock for them anymore. You guys know I'm a big Juju guy, but I don't think USC has the depth to get it done against UConn if they end up meeting up against each other. So I'm kind of jumping on the UConn bandwagon a little bit here, thinking that these ladies might do more than I thought they could in this tournament. Paige is playing great, but let's not sleep on Texas. This is Texas as a 1 seed. We're not used to seeing them there. And Texas is balling right now. They have one of the best freshmen in the country. And, of course, we never doubt the Lady Gamecocks.
Yeah, I was going to say, where are the Lady Gamecocks?
I mean, look, I already said that they're shoo-in to get to the Final Four. At this point, they have to get by TCU. I think that's going to be a really hard matchup. We talked about Van Lith being like a problem for them. But UCLA just looks unstoppable right now. So right now, it's kind of like, let's get UCLA to the title game. And let's see if UConn can handle South Carolina, or are we going to get that UCLA-South Carolina matchup that I know a lot of people want to see this year?
The late Gamecocks have been dominant. And speaking of domination in ladies, the UVA women's swim team, they did it again, Jay.
Did it again.
What's going on down there in Virginia with the women's swim team?
It's magic, man. You know, Coach Todd has these kids believing in themselves. And not only are they the best team year on end, but possibly one of the best dynasties we've seen in swimming, period, not just women's swimming. Now, obviously, if you bring along 4 or 5 Olympians and you have 4 or 5 Olympians, not just Olympians, world record holders, NCAA record holders, American record holders on your team, you're coming into the meet with a chip on your shoulder, like we're the team to beat. But they possibly have the greatest female sprinter of all time in Gretchen Walsh, who has now eclipsed times that were unheard of for a woman. I mean, you're thinking about a top 10 list at an event like the 50 fly. That's the stroke where arms coming over 2 at a time. Her top time is over 1.4 seconds faster than the second girl. That's unheard of in a 50. It's supposed to be, because everybody ranked 2 through 20 is within like 3/10. She's almost a second and a half ahead. So she's changed the game. And it's really interesting because if somehow they can squeak a win next year, they have this recruit that they have this girl named Riley Ersmison right now, who's a phenom at 16 years old. Word on the street is she's probably going to commit to UVA. If they somehow manage to steal number 6 from Stanford or Texas, we could be talking about a 10-peat at the end of this decade. And that will never be done again. And if that happens, crown this man as the greatest collegiate coach of all time in any sport. You're talking about 10 in a row. Come on, guys. That's insane. So big up to the UVA women. You guys did your thing. You dominated ACCs. And you also lifted ACC swimming up because it's faster than SEC swimming to score at ACCs now in the women's and men's side. And they just, even though Stanford was a nuisance this year for them, they ended up coming out on top. And Gretchen Walsh and her sister, Alex Walsh, will now ride off into the sunset as 4-time champions back to back, baby. I think back to back because of that COVID year.
Hey, sometimes somebody got to go. We're watching the NBA. We're watching a lot online. Online, I always see this thing where people put up like 4 teams or 4 pieces of food and say something's got to go. So yeah, I see that all the time online. And hey, let us do that towards the NBA. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give y'all one some historical one. And I'm gonna give you one pretty much current one, right? Okay.
Somebody has to go, right? That's what you're telling us. Somebody got to go.
Somebody got to go. You get
somebody got to go.
Somebody out of this 4.
All right.
This 4 has to go. Okay. The first 4 sets of players we have is Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony, James Harden.
Vince Carter, McGrady, Carmelo Anthony.
Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony, James Harden.
It's easy. Get the beard the hell out. No. You can't. James Harden, I don't care how successful he's been in the modern NBA, he does not hold a candle to Vince Carter, T-Mac, or Melo. No. If I'm starting a team, Harden's like not even in possibly my top 50 of all time NBA players to start a team with. So no.
You know his brother, the top 75 player all the time.
Okay, which was equally. I remember that, and it was equally bullshit. So, moving on.
Jay, who you kicking out?
I wish John was here to have me say Carmelo Smello Anthony. I'm sorry, but you have to go, my friend. And here's why, okay? As great as he was as a player, he never dedicated himself to being good enough on the other side of the floor to accept that his role was to defend the best guy on the team, like a Scottie Pippen with his size and athleticism, like a Tracy McGrady did with his size and athleticism, like a Vince Carter did with his size and athleticism. The bearded one is smaller than all of them. There was no expectation of him to do that on the other side of the floor. But the bearded one also helped in some way change the game, whether for the better or the worse, because he was the one raining threes before Steph was raining threes in the NBA. And we know that's a Mike D'Antoni product more than it is the bearded one himself. However, when it comes to giving your team a chance to win in the playoffs, that's why Carmelo has to go. Because I feel all the other guys found a way to make their teams better and their teammates better in the playoffs, and Carmelo never figured out how to do that.
Okay, but let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. What kind of defense did James Harden ever play?
He didn't have to play because he played on a team that didn't demand that he had to defend the best guy.
No, he played on a team.
Didn't accept what he had to do. And it's like James didn't avoid his role. Carmelo did. And if you do that, you backed away from being one of the greatest to me because you ducked out of your role, which was to step up on the defensive end with your size and athleticism, which he never did.
No, James just ducked out of the weight room.
Put it this way, right?
Right.
Whether or not Harden's guys cooked him at his position, his team only shot an opportunity away to go to the finals because the point guard himself, Chris Paul, got hurt at the worst time. So here's what I'm telling you. In no way whatsoever did Carmelo ever, in any way whatsoever, make anybody around him better. But all the other guys did.
Harden, I wholeheartedly disagree that Harden ever made
Harden opened up the floor for everybody. Harden brought everybody out here. He made the game super easy for everybody on his team.
That's why they won titles, right?
Huh?
That's why they won titles, right?
Nobody on that list won a title.
I purposely picked the list where nobody has a title, so we couldn't put a title into the argument. So I purposely made none of them have titles.
Mikey, you have a personal vendetta against Harden. I don't have a personal
For
vendetta against Melo. You hate James Harden.
I don't hate James Harden. I just recognize James Harden for what he is.
Bro, you're giving him shit from the moment we started this podcast. You shit on James Harden.
Because he's an overrated player.
With diarrhea, bro.
Because he's an overrated player.
Okay. And so is Carmelo Anthony.
I never watched Melo miss that many threes in a row.
Carmelo
fair enough.
That's fair.
Fair enough. I give you that.
Fair enough. I'm actually going off the board here. I'm taking Vince Carter out.
Oh,
you
are crazy.
Yeah, I'm taking Vince Carter out. Because we talk about disappearing. You said Vince in the playoffs. Vince Carter disappeared in the playoffs. What? Give me the great Vince Carter playoff moment. I'll wait.
Well, he was on the Raptors.
What great moment did he have when he went to graduation that time? He
showed up. He sucked. Yeah. He went to the finals with the Nets
3 times in a row.
But what great moment did he have?
Yeah, two pretty good Eastern Conference Finals back to back.
It was all right. Well, I look more at that as a kid. I looked at the kid more of the reason why they were there. Because remember, now, one thing you could talk about with each one of these guys, except for T-Mac, they all sabotaged the team. Remember, Vince sabotaged Toronto on the way out the door. James sabotaged like 2 or 3 teams, and Carmelo also sabotaged the Nuggets. So, see, I very much tried to put all these people in the room because they all did it. T-Mac didn't really sabotage the team. He more so got hurt. So, T-Mac, regardless, I say injuries are what derailed him. So, he gets to stay in this room for me. Carmelo, because of just purely how he could score, is why I keep him there. Harden, he did make his teammates better, whether Mike believes that or not. Notice, he has by far the most assists of any of these guys on the list. He won MVP because he got everybody else involved. But go back and look at that Houston team, not the one with Chris Paul, but the other Houston team. He basically dragged them dudes there.
Mm-hmm.
He was dragging Houston there. Y'all give Dwight Howard all that shit. He was dragging Dwight and some guys for a minute. But then again, what if I always thought Harden on? It's the playoff woes. He doesn't have that. But ultimately, for me, Vince, even when Vince had his best year, he wasn't the best guy. You give me the Eastern Conference Final, he wasn't the best guy on the best couple teams he played on. So when he was the best guy on the team, they didn't really go anywhere. Melo at least did get to a conference championship. T-Mac, unfortunately, injuries did it. And Harden, again, going back to what Jay said, they were about to beat that Warriors team. They were up in the series. They were up in the game. And Chris Paul's legs goes out, and then they end up losing that series. They were up. They were one game away from – they were a game and a quarter from taking that Warriors team out with KD, the feat that nobody else could do because Harden was in his bag at that point for once. I have to give him credit on that one. I mean, they were up, Mike. They literally were up.
Yeah, I've seen bigger comebacks.
They were up in the series. Yeah, me too. I live in Cleveland. I've seen bigger comebacks in the NBA. But so yeah, for me, I'm taking your boy Vince Carter out here. The other thing too, when I factor in, of all these guys here, I think Vince has the hardest time getting his own shot of all these guys. The other 3, I think, have an easier time of finding their own shot. Whether it's Harden that step back or Harden, man, fuck it, I'm going to the free throw line. I'm going to force your hand. Melo, we've always said he can get a shot anytime he wants to for anyone on the floor. And that was something T-Mac before Melo was T-Mac. He could shoot the 3. He can, he could get his shot everywhere. Vince Carter held on longer than these guys, but for me, yeah, Vince is who I'm taking out there. But all good guys. So shout out to them. It's not a knock to anybody. You all made this list because you all are either current or future Hall of Famers. Next round. Okay, let's go current here. We're going to go Donovan Mitchell, Cade Cunningham, Trae Young, Jalen Brunson.
You want me to go first?
Yep, Jay, you can go first.
Trae Young, great ticket. Not the guy that belongs on this list. Trae's got to go. Cade Cunningham, bright future. Cade's already made a subpar Detroit roster, even though the East is still the least in conference this year. Pretty damn good to be fighting for a top 4 to 5 seed. That's pretty good considering where Detroit was because they were in the cellar of the NBA a couple of years ago. All right, Donovan Mitchell, we can see what he's doing right now. I think it speaks for itself. He's single-handedly transformed the whole energy on this team, and they believe that they can be the champs this year. I think they have to beat the champ to be the champ, and that's their mission. So he's good enough to do that as a player. And sorry, remind me of the other one.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, come on. Jalen Brunson has carried, literally put the damn city of New York on his freaking back and said, let's go. This guy plays at a level that a lot of people cannot match his energy. And he's gotten better year on end. Trae Young came in the NBA the same way. He seems to be the same player. Like I say, he's a great ticket. He'll hit a couple of half-court shots. He'll come game winners. He can do spectacular things. I think he is one of the best balanced point guards in the game. But what has Atlanta truly done? Atlanta has lingered around the 6, 8, 9 seed playing games, right? So for as great as a ticket as he is, he doesn't belong on this list with guys that can truly carry their teams. At this point, Cade is showing that into the playoffs and maybe win a couple rounds in the playoffs too.
Mike, who got to go?
Yeah, in this case, we're actually going to agree. It's Trae Young because of the 4 of them, he feels the most to me like the guy I'm not going to trust to carry my team. He's a very good player and he's an exceptional shooter. Like that's undeniable, but it's just he's never felt like, whether he is or is not, he's never felt like he's carried himself as a main piece. Obviously, Jalen Brunson overall is not the most talented player on the Knicks. I mean, you could probably say at this point that's Cat as far as overall ability. But Brunson's the motor. He's the heart of that Knicks team. Cade is stepping up as the star for a rising Detroit team. So I just... He's the one that feels out of place. When you give me that list, he's the one that feels out of place.
I feel like Trae about to cut Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
No, I'm not cutting Cade.
He's cut. No way. He's cutting Brunson.
No, I'm actually going to agree. I'm cutting Trae.
Okay.
But it wasn't as easy for me, I think, as it was for y'all because the thing is, y'all say never carried a team. He did. He carried a team to the conference championship once when that team was clearly not that good, and he figured out a way to go into the
I thought they got knocked out in the Eastern semis. They made it to the conference finals.
They beat
the lost to the Bucks, right? That's when the Bucks won that year. Is that who they beat in the conference finals?
Yeah, because if I remember, he beat the Knicks and the Sixers.
Yeah, they thought he was about to become the new Reggie.
Yeah, because he beat the Knicks and the Sixers. He walks into New York, beats the Sixers, who again are supposed to have Embiid and all this type of stuff. So we did watch him get a team pretty far on his back. I picked these set of 4 because we also watched Brunson carry a team before. We're watching Mitchell currently doing in Utah, and Cade is starting to seem like he has the ability to do that, which is why I picked this set of 4. None of them have rings. All of them are the best player on their team. They're all guards with heavy usage. So that was why this 4 was in the combo. For me, it wasn't as easy to cut Trae because I've seen him do it. I just know at the end of the day, I have more confidence in Mitchell. Partly with Mitchell, the thing is, I know Mitchell, based on what we've seen this year, Mitchell now has got to a different level where he knows when he needs to take over. So some games he falls back. Some games it's like, oh, shit, I got like the Boston game where the Cavs had a crazy comeback. Mitchell looks around and says, oh, shit, everybody's saying, God, I got to do it. This year, Mitchell, some of his stats aren't as high because he just looks and says, okay, I ain't got to do it. I got my teammates. I don't know if Trae's got to that point where he trusts his teammates in that way. I would say the same with Cade. He clearly knows how to get everybody else involved. That's been the thing since he was at Oklahoma State. That was why I loved him as a prospect watching him in college, was because that guy clearly was the guy who was like, okay, I'm going to get my teammates involved. I'll pick and choose my moments. Brunson, I feel like, also does the same thing when needed. What scares me with Brunson, but this isn't necessarily the question, who has to go right now, is Thibs is going to run this man to the fucking ground.
And in fairness to Trae, the whole DeJounte Murray thing was such an epic fail that threw off the chemistry of the team.
It did.
And I think it threw off his
it threw off his trajectory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were better before the DeJounte trade. You could argue if they didn't do the DeJounte trade, I mean, You figured they keep those pieces, maybe get somebody else who fits better. The thing is, if you remember, the reason they went and got DeJounte was because at the time DeJounte was supposed to be a good defender. He gets there, stops defending people. Well, the point was you wanted to hide Trey because, again, something else, if you notice, with the 4 people I picked, none of them are known as defensive stalwarts on any of the 4 of them. So I didn't want everybody to go and say, I'm picking this guy because of defense. No, we're not looking at these guys because of that. But they picked the wrong one. Everybody else kind of got masked. So you look at Cade, you got beef stew with some of these guys. I mean, you look at Detroit every night, somebody's getting fucked up. Whether it's Ryan Holland going out here throwing bows and fucking somebody up, whether it's Isaiah Stewart going out here fucking people up. You look at the Cavs. They went out there. They added DeAndre Hunter. That's something to help protect Mitchell. Then if you do get past Mitchell, who's not a great defender, well, now I got to deal with Mobley and Allen in the paint. Then you look at Brunson. Well, it's a damn Thibodeau team. At the end of the day, the reason they went to go get Miles Bridges, and he had people was to, again, mask him. The one thing the Hawks did wrong of these 4 is they're the one team who missed. Now, the Dyson Daniels thing, that's a whole separate thing as far as trying to now figure out, defense and whatnot. But that DeJounte move, truthfully, that actually, and I don't know how much people are going to remember this in 10 years when we look back at Trae Young, but that move kind of fucked Trae Young out of 3 years of his career because that can happen sometimes. Hey, the team goes out there and make the wrong move. At the time, I'll admit, I thought it was a good move at the time because I thought DeJounte, I was like, oh, DeJounte plays defense. I just didn't know outside of Pop's system that he wasn't going to actually play defense. So
the same thing might be said with Lillard and Giannis when, that dust settles as well. So
I think it will be said of Lillard and Giannis. So unfortunately, speedy recovery of Damian is been announced him with the blood clot, so he's out indefinitely. So hopefully, fast recovery from him. You never like to go into playoffs and see people losing anybody. Star, regular person, anything. And blood clots are a serious thing. So definitely speed recovery for him. But speaking of speed recoveries, I start off really slow with the squad. It's about time for my recovery. So Trey time.
No, it's not the squad time, everybody. Welcome to your favorite segment of our show. It's time for Stump the Squad. We down a man this week, and John's probably sitting there being like, "This is the only way these guys can beat me." But you just talking shit right there. Probably, I heard. By the way, news report from Golf Digest. John shot 106 today. He said he blames it on bringing the wrong glove out there. Also said he did too much chest prior to the round. Hoping for a better day tomorrow. So there's your update on John's golf tour right now over in Virginia Beach area. So anyways, moving on here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here. Like, subscribe. Let us know if you have beaten the squad yet. If you haven't, here's your chance to play along with us. If you get the question right, +2. If you get it wrong, -2. Don't cheat. Don't look at your phones. Don't look at your laptops. We don't cheat because we know everything. But some days we just want you guys to feel like you can play along with us. So Trey, with all that shit talking, I'm going to start you on 0 this week. Take it away.
Okay, so let's go to the hardwood here, and let's go back in the day. Let's go to the 80s. Who had the most 30-point games in the 80s, in the 1980s, in the NBA?
Like the average 30, but just the most 30
No, the most 30-point games, like 30 points or more, the most times in that entire decade of 1980s. Okay. So over, 1980 to 1989. We have Moses Malone, Reggie Theus, George Gervin, Alex English.
Alex English.
Reggie Theus.
Okay. So today I have successfully stumped Mike. The answer is Alex English. Very underrated player. Never gets to do
Very
that.
underrated player. He was the star on his team, so the ball was in his hands quite a bit.
I just know you're a Reggie Theus fan, so I was like, maybe he threw some Reggie Theus love in
the top 10. Everybody named is in the top 10.
Yeah, I figured.
So I threw Reggie Theus in there because I had that whole fun fact of Reggie Theus. And I'm like, somebody's probably going to be like, he's doing Reggie Theus because he's a Reggie Theus fan. Yeah. Shout out to Reggie. Shout out to Bethune-Cookman College. Yeah. So he's in charge of out there. Jay.
All right, guys, I got my Kentucky blue on tonight. And by the way, I didn't get to talk about the city color code. Real quick, give me that Brew Crew. I love that powder blue yellow mix. San Diego Superchargers. Brew Crew bringing it back to me. Give me that Brew Crew love. I love that city color. All right, so it's Kentucky back in the Sweet 16. Here's what you know. Nobody has more Sweet 16 appearances than University of Kentucky. We're sitting at 45. Can you tell me which one of these blue bloods ranks second currently with the most Sweet 16 appearances behind the University of Kentucky? Is it Michael's North Carolina Tar Heels? Is it the UCLA Bruins? Is it the Duke Blue Devils? Or them Kansas Jayhawks? So North Carolina, UCLA, Duke, or Kansas, who ranks second behind Kentucky for the most Sweet 16 appearances all time?
UCLA.
See, you'd think it's UCLA because of all the championships and stuff they won. But see, I'm going to feel real bad if I vote against my guys, but Kansas.
All right, so we got a UCLA and we got a Kansas. Gentlemen, I have successfully stumped the squad. Mikey, UNC.
No! No, I knew.
Stick with your boys.
Kentucky's 45, North Carolina 36, UCLA 35, Duke 34, Kansas 32.
All right.
Okay, so what's our scores, right? Yeah, Mike's out.
Yeah, so
get it right. Jay,
I'm at -4. Jay's at 2. You're at -2.
Okay, so Jay needs to get
right. You gotta get it right. I gotta get it wrong.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, you might think I'm taking it to the baseball diamond, but I'm not. See, unfortunately, we did lose a legend in George Foreman recently. And so, RIP to George Foreman. It was very sad to see him go. So tell me, guys, when George Foreman was stripped of the WBA heavyweight title in 1995, he was stripped because he refused to fight who? A. Tony Tucker, B. Riddick Bowe, C. Michael Moorer, or D. Evander Holyfield?
B. Riddick Bowe.
Search your boxing knowledge.
What was the 4 again?
It was A. Tony Tucker, B. Riddick Bowe, C. Michael Moorer, D. Evander Holyfield.
Holyfield.
Okay. Gentlemen, this week I have successfully stumped the squad.
Let's go.
It's A. Tony Tucker, which means our episode 155 champion is Grandpa Jay.
Behind there, right there, with the UK next to Grandpa Jay. I like that champion talk when you put it by Grandpa Jay with a UK on the boy.
I don't think the end of that sentence was English, Trey. What do you think?
It was not.
It was Kentuckian.
It was Kentuckian.
That
was an Appalachian. That was far too few moonshiners.
Well, there's another one, and I will be making my comeback soon. I'm just chilling. I'm looking for a 3-1 comeback, so it'll be coming back soon.
You're letting us false sense of security.
Yeah.
Speaking of epic and comebacks and putting his name in the light, I caught a little bit of that interview of LeBron with Pat on the McAfee show. Pretty good interview. He was loose. I kind of liked his energy. It's like he was shooting the shit with the boys, kind of like the whole barbershop thing. Mm-hmm. So I find this side of LeBron's a good side. I don't think his comment about Giannis scoring 250 is in any way whatsoever showing any respect to the big men who really dominated the game in the 70s. I see where he was coming from, but to say he would score 250, maybe 75, 80, but damn, bro. Like,
I don't know, he put up points. But
getting what he was saying there, like he would dominate completely. But other than that, I thought that was pretty good.
But he's defending his generation because that's what they all do. I mean, they all are like,
oh,
if they were in my generation, they would get 12 points. So that's what they do. So that's what basketball players in particular seem to always have this generational. And I think more than any sport, generation back. Like, you don't see Dan Marino like, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is that good. But you'll see like Oscar Robertson like, Draymond, the only reason you're doing anything because Steph's carried you. Like, you'll see these type of comments. You don't see that in most of the other sports. So that's always, I don't know why basketball by nature has that mode. But definitely a lot of content coming. I mean, when y'all see us next week, we'll be breaking down some Final Four action. Baseball will have kicked off by then, so we'll be doing a little bit of baseball. Really quick, Jay, who's your World Series prediction?
Yeah, Mikey, I know. I actually think the Yankees would overachieve this year. I want to save this answer for next week when John's on. If we get to change it, I might change it. But right now, I agree with Mikey. We talk all the time. He's like, the Dodgers have just way too much firepower. And then bringing in more pitching. I mean, it doesn't matter if they lose 2 or 3 pitchers. They're probably still going to end up. I don't think they win over 101 games. So I think they putter out right there at 99 and 100. They got bored with like a 15-game lead. So they kind of shut down. So I got the Dodgers playing.
Go ahead. Pick the right thing.
How about we go with a surprise? I have the Dodgers playing the Royals.
Ooh.
Okay, even Royals. Me and Mike both had the same answer. We had Dodgers versus Orioles. Both.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take the Royals. I think the Royals might have the AL MVP this year. So.
And that was also Mike's.
I did say if Judge doesn't win, that Witt will win.
Yeah, so I think Witt might have
the same boat. But definitely we have a lot more baseball content coming. NBA's heating up, so you're going to start seeing a little more NBA content. And, just make sure y'all lock in with our socials, interact with us. All of our socials, Cinco Squad Pod 05. Like I always say, we do talk back. If y'all go in there, y'all say we don't know what we're talking about, trust and believe. I will come back and say, oh, that's right, I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah, you folks out here, DJ Academics doesn't know basketball. Florida by 20, and then Florida barely wins. Like I said, we know what the fuck we're talking about here, people. Yeah. So make sure y'all comment. We will talk back. But again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Cinco Squad, out.